This this is the start of the live stream. Quick stream, just want to cover a lot of gun news going on today. There is some good stuff happening. There is some bad stuff happening with some lawsuits, various action regarding some of the recent events that occurred. I wanted to talk really quickly also about this California compliant flamethrower. They sell a non-California compliant version that shoots 35 feet. The California one only shoots 10 feet, and you would definitely never buy the replacement nozzle ever, ever, ever. Exothermic Technologies Pulse Fire, they sent that out to me. I'm not being sponsored by them, but I believe I do have an affiliate link. That's the only relation to them. So, some gun news. Let's talk about what is going on. So, I'm sure by now everyone knows. If you don't know about what happened in New York, just look up New York. It's sure to be the first thing that pops up. Now, in response to that, a piece of gun legislation that seems terrible, right? This would be a federal licensing act requiring every time that you want to get a gun, you got to do background checks and licensing, all that kind of stuff. Crazy, right? This seems like an absolutely insane bill, and it is. And fortunately, because of bills like this that force the Overton window to be pushed further and further to the left on the side of gun control, we are stuck with a situation where anything reasonable, like wanting to be able to protect yourself with a firearm in your own home or being able to conceal carry a firearm that you legally own, that seems like radical, crazy right-wing behavior to want to do something like that. These bills don't exist to pass. These bills exist to advance themselves politically. This bill is going nowhere. If people legitimately believe that this bill is going to pass, they're holy shit, they must be a dingus. These bills do provide danger in the sense, like I said, that it shifts the realm of what is reasonable to talk about. When you implement or throw things out like this, you open it up and allow more moderate things to slip through. This is the scapegoat that everyone's going to focus on, and then maybe they slip through a 21-year-old ammo ban or a 21-year-old magazine ban or maybe some body armor bans that just kind of slip through under the cracks. This is something to keep an eye out on just for the sake of knowing that it's going on, but this would be a federal bill. It's not going to pass. Whatever. The big thing that's a concern to me is this, though. Buffalo shooting suspect learned to modify his gun on YouTube and the videos are still online. This is a dangerous discussion to have because what they're saying here is that they want more censorship. They're saying that YouTube is potentially complicit in this sort of discussion and saying that because YouTube didn't act on various videos that were on their platform that were showing people not break the law, just showing people how to modify their firearms, let's say they leave New York, that kind of thing, how to exist within the confines of the law, they're saying that YouTube is complacent and that they should have done more. This is dangerous. We saw with Gunmageddon, YouTube Adpocalypse, that kind of thing. This is the next iteration of that. In the past, YouTube has just ignored it. Every Town for Gun Safety has written letters like this in the past when it comes to 80% when the ATF was trying to push bills like that, but ultimately it kind of went nowhere. This, on the other hand, has a high-profile event attached to it, and I am very, very worried about the future of gun content on YouTube and on major tech platforms. We already walk on eggshells. I've been demonetized in the past and I have never broken the law on camera. I have never shown or taught people how to break the law or advocated for people to break the law. And yet still I've been demonetized in the past. I've been censored. I've had my videos reach minimized based on various things like, I'm not going to get too specific, but if you post or have titles or have tags that might be controversial when it comes to gun control, your content will likely be suppressed, which is unfortunate, but it's the platform that we exist on. It's the biggest platform, and you try to get the content out to the most people. Hiding on smaller platforms doesn't really get you as much exposure, but it's the platform we exist on, and this is dangerous. This is scary to me. Ultimately, this isn't my full-time job, so if my channel went goodbye, it wouldn't be the end of the world for me, but it would be the end of people to access information to learn how to educate themselves, because ultimately that's why I kept this channel going, is because I want people to be able to learn. I've taught a lot of people how to get guns, how to get concealed carry weapons permits, how to exist within the confines of California law, how to definitely not get away with certain things, So I believe that what I'm doing here is important, and I don't want that to go away. Big news, JSD Supply's Supply files a temporary restraining order against the ATF. And now, so what was going on with this? I didn't have a chance to make a video talking about this, but JSD Supply is a very popular retailer that sells 80% and completion kits for your 80% or 3D printed guns. They sell things for the P320. They sell all kinds of stuff that's very relevant for people that are interested in firearms building. JSD Supply was sent a cease and desist by the ATF for no real reason, it seems. The ATF was claiming that they were selling completion kits or firearm kits in the same way that when Polymer 80 was targeted a couple months ago. Now, it seems as if this field office was using the not yet in effect regulations and rules that haven't gone into effect yet, but the ATF is then saying no, that this was done separately of that, even though the lawyers reached out to the ATF and said, what parts are against the law? What parts do we not need to get? It seems as if they are saying that everything that they sell is essentially a firearm or a firearm completion kit because of how easy it is to acquire the rest of the parts, even if they were to just take a few things off the website. Now, JSD Supply is basically filing a lawsuit against the ATF asking for a temporary restraining order, I believe it is. And this is unfortunate. JSD Supply is good people. For those of you that don't know, JSD Supply actually is where I got several of my parts kits in the past, and it's Oliver Drabington, one of the guys that's kind of associated with them, contacted JSD Supply and had them send me out the parts kit for my 3D printed Glock. So they have been a supporter of me in the past. I believe they have a GoFundMe. I'm going to try to link that down below when I'm done with this live stream, but it's just something to be interested about. You know, like this could be big. This is kind of similar to the next thing that we're talking about, which is rare breed triggers versus Garland. Now, Rare Breed Firearms refiled their lawsuit against the ATF regarding that the determination that the FR-15 trigger is a machine gun. Now, one thing to note here, and so in the early morning hours, if you're not following this Twitter account, Rob Romano at 2A Updates, you absolutely should. But so here's the part that he thought was interesting, and I also think is interesting. In the early morning hours of April 15th, 2022, more than a dozen ATF agents and unmarked vehicles stopped Mr. DeMonico's vehicle. Mr. DeMonico was ordered out of his vehicle at gunpoint. Does that seem like a reasonable use of force for a man who has not threatened anybody, who has not committed any acts of violence, who has not shown any hints of wanting to engage in violence, a man whose only goal is to produce a legal product based on the letter of the law and sell that legally? Does that seem like someone that needs dozens of people to hold him at gunpoint? Seems a little bit like excessive use of force. I'm very hopeful about this, as well as the JSD Supply. If things like this can make it through the courts, if the bump stock ban can win in the courts, that would be huge. That would be massive for the ability for people to no longer have to live in fear of maybe the ATF changes their mind. The bump stock ban was kind of how the ATF was able to get away with all this recent bullshit that's going on with their various determination letters. So just something interesting to keep your eye on. I'm going to have links to this down in the description once this video is live. Now, an East Hampton teen was arrested for making illegal guns with his grandfather. Now, I've seen this article. I've seen various articles talking about this event. One of the events said that it was a concerned neighbor that called the police. One of them said that the guy, Clayton Hobby, went to the police and said, hey, I have this homemade firearm. How do I actually make it legal? What can I do? And now what you should know, and it's unfortunate that this young man had not learned that yet, the cops are not your friends when it comes to the law. The cops have a duty to enforce the law, or have an obligation in their mind to enforce the law, regardless of whether or not that law is just. Now, I'm friends with a lot of police officers. I'm actually endorsing a sheriff's officer, a county sheriff in Sonoma County, being Eddie Ingram. The police do an important job, but the police have a job to do, and that job is to arrest people when they break the law. This guy basically went to the police and said, hey, I'm breaking the law. What's up? And it's unfortunate that he had to learn that this way. Don't talk to the cops. If you have questions about the law, reach out to a real lawyer, not someone like me. I just make YouTube videos on the internet. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Now, the most interesting part about this, his grandfather, Kerry Shunk, 64, was charged with conspiracy to commit possession of an assault weapon, conspiracy to commit possession of a pistol, conspiracy to commit possession of ammunition, conspiracy to commit manufacture of a machine gun, conspiracy to commit possession of high-capacity magazines, and interfering with an officer. So this guy was being charged with a thought crime. The idea of wanting to possess a firearm is what he is actually charged with. He wasn't in possession because they would have charged him with possession. He didn't manufacture it because they would have charged him with manufacturing. Conspiracy to commit possession of a pistol. Does that seem like a reasonable thing to be charged with? Just crazy to me. So this video was fairly short. I'll try to answer some questions really quickly, but this is what I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to have these links down in the description once this video goes live. It's likely going to be suppressed heavily by the algorithm just because that's how live streams work, especially since I titled it kind of funky in the beginning. Probably should have just ended the stream and restarted the stream, but I am a tech illiterate idiot when it comes to YouTube. People think that I know what I'm doing. I do not. I do not know how to do this very good. I do appreciate everyone's support. This has been fun. I don't think I'm going to be doing a whole lot of videos in this style in the future. I just had limited time today, wanted to just do this live, said, fuck it, we'll do it live. But yeah. Anyways. All right, if you guys want me to do a live stream in the future, I probably will. Anyone have any... All right, here are the options. We can either do a Modern Warfare 2 campaign live stream part 2 or Skyrim. Those are your options. If we're going to do live streams of games, it's going to be those two. Do not tell me to play Insurgency Sandstorm. Do not tell me to play Tarkov because that game scares the shit out of me. Don't tell me to play Arma. I might play Call of Duty of various types, but you know, Skyrim gun mod. Yeah, Modern Warfare 2 Part 2, I think that'll be it. Anyways, I appreciate everyone's support. You guys know the drill.